Hey, Coach. Good morning. How
Good
are you?
morning. I'm awesome. It's been a very long time. Good to see you
It feels
again.
like it's been too long.
Yeah, very long.
Because last week we then had Jonah, and before that I was not around, I think. Yes, but then
Yeah.
so good to have you here. So we're also live on Facebook. Lessons from Little Big Shorts. Without wasting much time, let's get into it.
Yeah. So what happened was that for a long time I'd been working with teenagers and preteens only. Then at some point I decided that, well, I also love young kids and I want to start working with young kids. So what I decided to do was to start researching, like reading, doing online courses and all that. And when I thought I had the information, we then decided that we're going to have a play center, an educational play center. So we went shopping, getting toys, trying to make the place inviting for kids, putting a lot of color and all that. So the interesting thing is then the first group of kids come. And then the expensive toys that we had bought, and we were thinking kids are really going to love this based on the research. And of course is that Dad, you look at the kids, and the kids are not even interested. Like they're not even like going for them. And then they these tiny little toys, and then they go there and they're having fun and all that. So I then realized that, okay, the best way to actually learn about kids is to observe them, because kids are not as communicative as adults are. Like they have limited vocabulary, limited language, so you have to then observe them, and you also have to listen to them here and there so that you can actually understand what exactly they want, what exactly they need in order to have fun. So today I'm just going to share some of the lessons that I've learned, because I'm sure some parents may have also had similar experiences to the ones that we had. For example, kids love breaking toys.
Yes.
And if you sometimes you buy an expensive toy, right, and it's very valuable to you because you're considering the price, but kids don't look at it that way.
I remember I was having that conversation with my son, and I got to a point where I was like, I'm never going to buy you any toy because of how you break the toys. Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Because this toy car, it's so pricey, but then, let me do this for my child.
Yeah.
What
And then
do you
within a
have to do?
day or a few hours, it's actually gone and you're wondering why. So, well, what have I actually learned? I'll start maybe with that lesson. So, the lesson I've learned there is sometimes the breaking of the toy is actually part of the lesson. It's part of the fun, because they want to find out, they're naturally curious. They want to find out, like, what's causing these wheels to move. I mean, what's in there? And then they break it and they want to find out. And then sometimes it's also an opportunity for them to just learn about consequences. Okay, so I've broken this. That means tomorrow I'm not going to have anything to play with.
Yes.
So it's part of the lesson. So it's things that you learn as you go. But without observing kids, you wouldn't understand that. You wouldn't learn that. And then the other lesson, and this one is very important. Maybe before I share this one, let me share another experience. So from the first days, because we started in January having this play center, I discovered that kids love sand, the band and all that. And I think it's an old age thing, even during our time. We
As
loved
kids,
yeah.
so much.
So they love sand. So what I then did was, I wasn't too sure how the kids were going to play with the sand. So we got a heap of sand. And then instead of spreading it and doing what we were thinking and imagining kids would want it to be, we then just decided to just leave it like that. Then I said, okay, when the kids come, we'll see how they'll play with it. And then from there, we'll like go along. They'll help us to design it. So the first group of kids that came to the sand, they decided they were going to make a home for ants. Those like ant hills and all that. So they said, this is what we're going to do. And so they started like making, then they said, okay, when we make this house, the ants are going to come and they're going to find their housemate and all. So, it's just funny how kids can be very creative. And it's important to observe them, so then you'll be able to know exactly what they need. The other lesson that I've learned from kids is that less is more. So, we think that kids love colors, and we want to put like a lot of colors and all that. But what I've realized is that kids are already hyperactive. Okay. And if you put them in that environment, they're going to be very difficult to control. Like they just want to run around and all that. They'll be very difficult to control. Also, if you put like too many toys at the same time, sometimes they suffer from this decision paralysis, where they don't know which toy to touch, and within a very short space of time, they're already bored and exhausted. Like they've got all those things they're trying to run to, like the little car, they're trying to go to the bicycle and all that, and they're confused. So what I've now started doing is, we take out the toys as and when. So you just take out one little toy, you put it out there, and then you let them play. So with that toy, they're going to be creative. They're going to invent their own games. They're going to come up with their own rules and all that. They will communicate, and then maybe after 30 minutes, 40 minutes, you bring in another one, and they play better that way. They are creative, and they've got all the space. So it's not necessary to give them like everything all at once, because they'll be very hard to control. Because what I realized is that there are places with so much color, but such places are a little different from our kind of place, in the sense that parents accompany the kids.
Yes.
So the people at the play center don't have to worry about the kids. So it's the parent and the kid who are so they can afford to do that. But in our case, the kids are dropped, and then we have to like spend the whole day with them. And these are like many kids. So if you've got many kids in this place and they're all running around, you will be exhausted. You can't handle 4 hours or 3 hours with the kids. So that was the other lesson. And then the other lesson that I've actually learned is the importance of listening. You know, I was just having this reflection, like I think it was a week ago, that think about how God asks us to pray and how many we are and how many times we pray. So maybe just and so
what a way of looking at it.
There's so many of us,
Yes.
different places, we're all praying, and sometimes we're emotional when we pray, you know. Yeah. You know, when you find somebody like jumping up and down, taking their jacket off and all praying, you're wondering, are you talking to God or you are...
Who are you talking to? Yes. Yeah.
So you ought to have that same attitude, that same God attitude when you're talking to kids, because they're all coming at the same time. Some are complaining, some are just want to tell you stories and all of that. So the importance of listening, that's very important. Something that I've actually learned. And then the other thing is, kids love to throw tantrums sometimes. So when things don't go their way, sometimes they'll cry, sometimes they just want to roll on their floor and all that. And I've discovered or found that to be an opportunity to teach them emotional intelligence. So when I see you rolling on the floor or crying, I'm not going to entertain you. I'm going to tell me what's the problem. Share your story. Then I can help. If you're just going to cry like that and I'm just going to leave you.
But
like
we can't
that.
address it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We will not address it.
Collect
I'll leave you
yourself
like that.
and
yeah, and then come explain to me, and then we move on from that. So sometimes you see a kid doing that and you're not paying attention, and then maybe around while you're not paying attention to them, and then they see that the fun is still continuing even without them.
Life goes on.
Yeah, now they come to you and then they start like explaining, okay, so this is the thing, this one has taken my toe and all that, okay, and then I explain the thing.
So you say we shouldn't entertain tantrums?
Yeah.
To play along, to say, okay.
Because kids can be very manipulative.
I know, right?
Yeah, they can be very manipulative.
Yeah.
I mean, they're the greatest psychologists there is. So they can actually know that, okay, if I behave this way, okay, mom is going to come to my rescue and is going to do what I want. So if you teach them that way, then they're going to continuously do that. But it's important to tell them that we talk, we discuss. You don't just act out. You actually talk how you're feeling, and then we take it from there. And then the other thing that I've also seen is there are some complex concepts that you may think it's hard or kids cannot learn. It's hard to teach kids or kids cannot learn. But you'll be amazed at how easily they learn it. So for example, leadership. Sometimes parents would come to me and would say, isn't it too early to be teaching a 4-year-old, 5-year-old? How do you even do it? But sometimes these things happen naturally. So there are kids who come often to our place, and then because they're now familiar, they know all the coaches, they know the places and everything. When other kids come, they naturally assume the leadership position. So they'll be like, okay, so this is where we play, this is where the Wendy house is, this is where the toys are, this is what's going to happen. Very soon, we're going to have breakfast, we're going to have this kind of thing. So as they do that, they've actually naturally assumed leadership. So they've learned that concept actually. So, and even just teamwork. Initially I used to think, based on the research that I'd done, I would think it's best to have just one age group at a time. So if you're going to have 4-year-olds, you have all 4-year-olds. If you're going to have 5-year-olds, you have all 5-year-olds. But I discovered that when you have the same age group, because they all want the same attention and everything. But then when you've got this mixed age group, you're going to have some taking a mentorship role. So they all understand, okay, I'm in grade 2.
But this is a baby.
Yeah, this is a
and
baby.
They're more accommodative.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
So it's just taking the big brother or big sister role.
Okay. So the older ones are learning responsibility, and then the little ones are also learning to follow instructions and to know that, okay, this is somebody that I look up to. And then it becomes easier for you, like managing a group of kids. You don't have to do much because they just sort themselves out as kids. And like I've also said, they are very creative. They will surprise you. So there's this little puzzle. So it's a small puzzle, and you can make like up to 100 things just using four pieces. So it's very complex, and we used to use it for adults, like during team building workshops. And sometimes adults would struggle, like in a team. They would take 15 minutes just to figure out one thing. And then there was this a 4-year-old. She gets the puzzle, and then she fixes like the first one. So I look at her and I'm thinking maybe she did it accidentally.
Yes, like there's no way.
Yeah, I just feel like no way. So I took all the pieces and then I threw back at her and I said, I'll make it again. And then she did. I'm like, really? Okay. So that's what happens sometimes. There are games that I sometimes buy because I buy a lot, and I look at it, I'm trying to figure out how am I even supposed to play, and I can't figure out. Then I just take it to kids, and then
they know.
Yeah, I observe.
They're so
like,
smart.
Okay, this is how it works. So yeah, it's very interesting.
So we can't underestimate them.
Yeah,
we can't.
You can't.
I've had conversations with my son, and he's telling me, Mom, this thing. Yeah, then I'm like, oh, no. And then it turns out to be actually right. Oh, okay.
And then you have to eat humble pie. Okay.
Yeah, so we can't underestimate them.
The interesting thing about kids is that, there are two extremes. So they can be very intelligent and you're surprised. And then after surprising you with the so intelligent thing, the next thing that they can't figure out, you're like, England, you're the same.
We're talking to the same person.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no, look at what you're doing. Yeah, so they still need the guidance. They still need us because there are many things that they don't know. Maybe the last lesson that I'll learn is that I'll share is that kids love reading, especially if the stories are relatable. So there's something that I've since started doing. So when kids come through, I get their names, and then I create a fun story, like an AI generated fun story with their names, with some of the things that they would have done. So suppose a kid has come with a sibling, I actually ensure that the story has those details. And then it also talks about maybe if
an AI story.
All that, yeah, it can.
Interesting.
Like in seconds, it's just that we don't have time. I could have done that. Like write a story about us, and the next 5 seconds it'll be out. So when you then read that out to them, they're like, oh, so what happens? And sometimes they get confused. Is this story real? Is this going to happen? Is it just a story? And sometimes they actually want to read even though they can't read yet. So it's important also to ensure that you look for books that are relatable, and then you actually inculcate that culture of reading at that age because they already naturally just love it.
Thank you so much, Coach Tafadzwa. Lessons from Little Big Shorts. And for those who want to reach you, your contact details.
Okay, so I prefer WhatsApp, and my WhatsApp number is 0773 606 728. I'll give it for the last time, 0773 606 728. So if you're a parent of a child, a preteen, or a teenager, and you want to be part of our WhatsApp platform where we discuss issues to do with parenting, feel free to just send your name and your child's name to that number, and I'll add you to the platform.
Thank you so much, Coach Taff. Taking our time to exactly 11 o'clock. We're also live on Facebook. You can go watch any Star FM sounding good all the time. Time for the news.
This is Zimpaper's Radio.